Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dave's Corner Garage, heard every weekend on Sirius XM, channel 167. We welcome you to get close to the stage, and we'll give you some prizing later on. But if you have any questions for our illustrious panel, they're here to take your questions. You can catch the show 3 times on the weekend on Sirius XM, channel 167, and every Saturday on AM 740 at 10 a.m. Be warned, some of the material you may hear could be a little bit interesting. So without any further ado, the hosts of the show, Dave Redinger and Alan Gelman. Dave's a short guy with the glasses on top of his head. Go ahead, Dave.
That's because... Can you hear me now?
Turn it on.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Dave's Corner Garage has been on the air now for 18 years. I was 12 years old when we first started the program. And it's on AM 740 on Saturday mornings. And actually, we take that program, and it goes on Sirius XM and goes across the entire North American continent. So we're here today to talk to some of our associates that we deal with every day. We're part of their companies, but basically that's how we feel. We have, let me just introduce first who we're going to be talking to. And behind me is Trevor Hutchison. Trevor Hutchison is with Crown Risk Control. They were actually one of my first sponsors. I think, yeah. We've been together for 18 years. I feel like the family, right? Trevor's company is actually unique in this industry because it is a co-op. It's not actually a corporation. So when you deal with one of their dealers, you're actually dealing with an owner. So if we have a rust-proofing question, and I know there's a few of them out there, Trevor's the guy we're going to talk to. Jeff Coy is the gentleman sitting next to him, and it is Lant Insurance. Lant Insurance is if you have a classic car worth several millions dollars or $50,000 or $25,000, these are the folks that will do the insurance on it for you. So it's a really unique product. If you do damage your car, they actually help you get it repaired with original parts or like parts. Great guys, and the policies are cheap, or should I say affordable. Affordable, all right, because the vehicles aren't used every day. Sitting beside them is Jim from Leasebusters, Jim Matthews. Leasebusters is if you're stuck in a lease, and we're going to talk about leases and getting into the ditch. In other words, owing way more in your car than you actually have an asset. Jim is the guy we're going to talk to. Leasebusters has been around for longer than I have, I think. 28 years in the industry. And beside him is Ryan Rogers. Ryan Rogers is with Car Cost Canada. You see all these beautiful cars out here. He can get you a deal. So that's really what you want to know. Car Cost Canada will get you any incentives that are available on all these vehicles. Sorry. Alrighty, and sitting next to Ryan is Scott Long. Right? Got it right. Scott is with OMVIC, Ontario Motor Vehicle Industry Council. Now, OMVIC is the regulator for dealers. So if you have an issue with a purchase that you did, or you have a question, they regulate the dealers, and they would basically run interference for you. So OMVIC is the folks that actually license the dealers, license the sales folks, and are basically the regulators, even though we are actually sponsored by the dealers, right? So if we're going to have some questions there. So this is the panel that we have. We welcome your questions. So the first question we had was with Trevor, and the question was, I'm buying a new car, and the dealer says, if my car is rust-proof by Crown, I'm going to lose the warranty. Is that true?
The short answer is no.
Okay.
No. What it is that dealerships are individually owned and operated, and so the manufacturer has their own warranty on it. But manufacturers, with the exception of our friends here at Volkswagen, Volkswagen's the only car company that actually has an exclusion on their warranty, not just for rust proofing, but also for other types of aftermarket work. That if you bolted something into the frame, things like that. But if you're told that at a dealership, usually it's because they're going to be selling you some type of other product or an electronic box.
My question next is for Jeff Coy, and then I'll get Alan to take over. Jeff, the question is, how does your insurance policy work for a classic car? I've got a 95 Ferrari 456, which I only drive in the summer when it runs. How do I get it insured, and how does that work?
It's based on the value, and that you talk to us, give us a call, and we talk to you about the value. We have a research book that tracks all the auction results and sales across North America, and we're looking to insure it at the current market value. So once we establish the value with you, it's agreed between yourself and our office, and then you can do it over the phone, you can do it online to your website, and you can be signed up in 5 minutes.
Are there restrictions in using the car? Like, I can't use it as a daily driver.
Right, yeah, that's, if you want to call it a restriction, but yeah, it's just the usage is just for pleasure use, not as your daily driver going to and from work.
And the other question I had was, all right, I've taken it out, I've had an accident, somebody's driven in the side of me, a self-driving car has whacked me in the back, and the question becomes, what happens now?
We have a specialized claims department that just looks after classic cars. So they've got special appraisers that appraise the damage, and you choose the shop you go to. So you can go back to where you had the work done prior restoration, or you can even do it yourself if you want, and we'll pay for the parts.
Fascinating. Okay, we're going to talk to Jimmy next.
Hi, my name's Alan. I'm Dave's sidekick. We're here.
Alan Gilman.
That's me.
Hey.
Jim, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, good things happen to bad people, or bad things happen to good people, I think is what they should say. Periodically, people take out a lease, they've got a job, they've been making the same amount of money for quite a long time, or maybe they're just getting tired of their ride after 2 years. You provide them an option. What is that?
The Lease Busters option helps people get out of car leases by way of a lease transfer. If you've ever been stuck in a lease, as Dave put it, we don't like to consider it stuck, but if you ever had a lease that you wanted to get out of, and you went back to the original selling dealer, you'll find that you have what is called lease deficiency. That means you owe more on the car than what it's worth.
That's not a good thing.
Well, it's not a good thing if you want to get out of it. In any event, rather than paying the difference, and on most cars, the difference between what is owed and what the value of the car is between $7,000 and $9,000, and that's just on a regular average car. Mm-hmm. So that average car would be a $25,000 to $35,000 car. What we do is, over the past 28 years, we've developed a marketplace for people who would rather take over a lease than lease a new car. So what we do is we assess the person's vehicle, and we basically expose that vehicle on our national website, and we have several buyers that want to take over that particular lease.
So you're right across Canada?
Right across Canada, both languages, and in the end, what happens is we find that we have more buyers than sellers, and to get out of your lease becomes an easy process as opposed to a costly ordeal.
So perhaps, you know, you've your kids have grown up and you always thought of thinking of getting a sexy car. This is a way for you to try to get into one at a lesser cost.
Exactly. People need to get out of their leases for various reasons, but basically the biggest reason is one word, and that's change. Something's changed. They've changed their mind, they've changed their lifestyles, so on and so forth. So yes, our service helps those people get out, but more importantly, our service helps an underserviced market of those people who want a shorter term lease, and we fill that particular need as well.
Well, especially nowadays, people are going with the longer term leases because it costs them less a month.
It's all about affordability. That's why you see with finance contracts that are now, you know, exceeding 84 months and, you know, sitting around 96 months. In fact, in the U.S., I've seen 120-month, 10-year finance agreements on new cars.
Super, appreciate it. Great information.
Thanks, Alan.
Ryan Rogers from Car Cost Canada. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for having me.
You know, everybody's here looking at new cars, and every salesman I'm sure they see says they're giving them the best price in town. But that's not always necessarily the truth, is it?
No, I mean, so really to know if you're getting the best price, you need to know what the dealer invoice price is on the vehicle that you're looking at.
Well, they have a sticker on the car, don't they?
Right. So
is that the whole story?
It's not the whole story.
Okay.
So what we provide is actually a free report. And on this report, what you're going to see is the dealer invoice price of the vehicle that you want to purchase.
The actual cost that the
dealer paid for the vehicle. In addition to that, you're going to see all of the available factory rebates on that vehicle. So these are things like discounts you didn't know you qualified for. Let's say you're a recent graduate, there might be a discount available.
So I just graduated from school, maybe there's an offer.
Yeah, there could be some brands offer discounts like that. Other types of discounts would be like Costco if you're you're a Costco member,
Okay.
you may be entitled to extra incentives that you didn't know you really qualified for.
And the dealer wouldn't necessarily tell you about those.
Well, they may or may not. I mean, the advertising isn't always the best. The only way you're going to know is if you have one of these dealer invoice price reports.
Okay, and the basic membership is how much?
Yeah, so the first report is free.
Free?
Yeah,
Actually free?
Actually free.
Okay.
No credit card, nothing.
All right.
After that, if you want more, you can get an extra 5 reports, and it's $30. And so you can research 5 more vehicles, see what incentives are available on those cars, and really compare and contrast to see what the best discounts car across various makes.
That sounds great. Yep. And you have all manufacturers available.
We have almost all manufacturers available, with the exception of exotics.
And you guys have your own dealers as well?
Yeah, so the way it works too is not only are you getting all the kind of knowledge on the best discounts on the car, we also do our best to provide you with a dealership in your area that's going to facilitate your deal at the best price. So basically someone that sees Car Cost Canada customers and is willing to sort of facilitate that deal and give you a hassle-free experience.
All right, super, appreciate it. Next we're going to move along to Scott Long. We can't keep talking about pricing and cost of things. There's a law that says all-in pricing has to happen. What is the dealer allowed to add to the cost of the car that he's advertised?
Fantastic question, Alan. So back in 2010, Ontario made all-in price advertising the law for car buyers. So essentially what that means is if a dealer places a price, or an advertisement rather, with a price on it, that is the price a consumer must expect to pay, with the exception of HST, so taxes and licensing.
Well, a lot of times they throw in what they call admin fees.
So an admin fee must be included in an advertised price, and some other fees in there are an air tax, that's not an HST tax, or freight and PDI. Those must be included in a dealership's advertised price. Consumers should not have to pay over top of that.
So that whether they hear the advertisement on the radio, see it on television?
An advertisement can be anything. So if it's even a verbal advertisement, radio, television, magazines, social media is a brand new medium right now
And
for
it's governed
advertising.
as well.
It's governed as well. So anything that has a price on it is considered an advertisement.
All right, cool. And people they're getting all excited. They're seeing nice cars here. They sit down, they talk to somebody, they sign a contract. If they happen to change their mind, or when they get home, their wife says, "What the hell did you buy that for?" Is there an out?
That's a fantastic question, and we get this all the time at OMBIC when consumers call into us. So in Ontario, got some people here. So if you buy a car, you sign a contract. Who thinks they have 24 hours to return the car? How about 48 hours to return the car? You got 2 days to return the car after you sign the contract. Good. In reality, there is no cooling off period. When you sign a contract in Ontario, that sale is final. You are bound to buy that vehicle. So in this circumstance here,
Wait, hang on. The dealer said he was giving me the best price in town. And then I just happened to go to another dealer, and I found a better deal.
Got
Car Cost Canada price report.
got car cost.
And I found out I can't get out of it.
So you can get out of it. The dealer has to allow you to get out of it. So if you sign a contract and you can put a deposit down, a dealer may let you out of a will of good gesture if they've incurred some costs. We like to call those liquidated damages at OMBIC. So if they fitted some roof racks or they've had to pay extra for advertising, they can claim those costs from your deposit. But they must be able to substantially prove that with invoices and receipts to OMBIC if they are going to claim those liquidated damages.
We had a call on the station this past week, as a matter of fact, where somebody said that the manufacturer had said that, or the dealer had said the manufacturer installed something, and that's the way they came from the factory, and there was no option. That's not necessarily the case, though.
Not necessarily the case. So if the vehicle comes pre-installed with it, and there is an advertised price, going back to all-in price, they can't add that on top of the advertised price. That option's already installed in the vehicle, and it actually may cost the dealer more to remove that option than just to keep it on. So that includes, like we say, we were talking about fees, right? So optional extras, so tire warranties. Sometimes they put nitrogen in the tires.
Right.
That all must be included in an advertised price. You got to see that there.
Well, the caps are green, so you know you have it.
Yeah, the caps are green.
Because that's the color of money.
Well, perfect. Yeah.
Gotta pay for them.
Of course.
Speaking of devices on cars, we were talking earlier about electronic things. Everybody has a smartphone these days. And this car that we were talking about specifically was a Chrysler, and it had one of these black boxes with a little red light on it, and the light works forever. I don't know about the rust qualification. What do you think?
Well, yeah, usually the light works. Well, The actual device itself is not really a proven car technology. It's proven in bridges, in other types of structures, and the science behind it is, the idea is to reverse the current. There's a charge in metal. That's what they're trying to do. Very honestly, why people sell it is because it's simple, it's clean, and there's an extremely high profit margin.
What do they normally charge for this?
A low of probably $600 and up to $1,200, $1,300, depending on where. A little more in the city, a little less outside the city.
But really, they try to baffle you with the science, but it's really BS for the most part.
Yeah, it's not a proven technology. That's why we really encourage consumers to do their research. And you got to understand, if you go in, you come in here and you're wowed by the lights, the shiny car, what you see. A car is an emotional purchase.
Mm-hmm.
That's why dealership showrooms are set up the way they are. It's to evoke emotion. But what's not emotional is when you have to part with $30,000 and then you have add-ons that could bring it up to $38,000, $39,000, $40,000. You should be informed about what you're doing before you make that purchase.
But I think too, they talk about negative things. A lot of times they talk about, your spray, it drips a little bit, you may see some on the ground, but they try to make a big deal out of it when it really isn't.
Well, that's right. It's highlighting one side of it. One side of a story sounds very appealing till you hear the other side of the story, right? And it's the same thing, is that any purchase you make with relation to your automobile, whether you're going to your mechanic to get work done, when you can make an informed decision, you're going to make a better decision.
I'm going to ask a question to Jim now. Jim, most people now, especially when they're leasing, they're not concerned about what the car's going to be like down the road, but it's still a good idea.
Well, it is depending on the type of lease that you get. So the majority of leases, you can simply return the vehicle,
right,
and you don't have any obligation. However, there are what is called open-ended leases,
right,
where you're responsible for the value of the vehicle at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Not that popular, but some people will buy the rust protection. The other thing too, which I find quite fascinating, is manufacturers or the OEMs, perhaps they should be encouraging, depending on the area, the salt usage, so on and so forth, they should be encouraging more rust protection, but because they give 6 years from the factory, but not on everything.
No, it's only for perforation, so unless there's a hole there, you're not getting any coverage at all.
In the end, I think it's still a good idea as an investment, even though when you're leasing a car, you are just renting it. But for the long-term, the long-term integrity of the vehicle, it's not a bad idea.
But like you say, when you're reading the advert, it's nice to see that it's been serviced regularly and it's had the rust protection.
Yeah, because again, the end user. Now, the question is, can't dealers sell Crown products?
They could. We don't have enough profit margin, to be very honest. You have a listed retail price, for instance, of $130. There's only so much profit in it. You need a little more profit. But I completely agree with Jim. When you're looking at leasing a vehicle, you've got to try to look at what your goal is, where you're going to, how long you're going to keep this vehicle, and what you want to be driving in 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, because in the end, somebody might lease a car, decide that, geez, this vehicle's really good, and I really don't want to give it up at the end. I want to convert from a leasing customer to an owner, and had I looked after it from the beginning, now the investment comes back and assists me. So there's a lot of good reasons why to rust-proof lease vehicles.
Okay, I'm going to take over from Alan because he's got a cold. We're talking with Jeff right now, Jeff Coy, and Jeff's company is Land Insurance, which is part of Haggerty Group, isn't it?
Yeah, we sell the Haggerty product.
Haggerty products. Now, if you haven't know if you just arrived, we insure classic vehicles. So I have that $1.5 million Duesenberg downstairs.
You do?
No, I wish I did.
Okay.
I did walk by it. It's gorgeous.
I've seen your car. It's a doozy. Let me tell you.
Are these the kind of cars that you would be involved with?
Yes, they are. Yeah, and the ones in the Culver Beach display on the 700 level.
Yes.
We insure most of those.
Rob's cars there.
Yeah.
They sit there. Right?
Yeah.
So here's a question. How does it work? I've purchased this car and now I call you up. What do you do to get the policy in effect?
We talk to you about the value. We have access to values across North America it offers the current market value, and that's what we insure the car for. So it's a guaranteed, agreed value, and then we just simply set up a policy. We can do it over the phone. It just takes less than 10 minutes, and you send us some pictures, and we're good to go.
So give me an idea. I have $1.5 million Duesenberg.
Yeah.
What would I be paying insurance on something like that?
Well, it varies on the age of the person. There is different categories where we base, but just an average premium on that is about probably about $900 a year.
That's cheap.
Yeah.
Why?
The use. You're not using it, as a daily driver.
Yeah.
They're very limited. A lot of these guys, you have $1.5 million car, you're probably hardly ever driving it.
That's right.
You may drive it 3 times
shows
a year.
And stuff like that.
It's a trailer queen, and you're taking it to shows, and maybe just in your.
Okay, let's go the
museum.
other way. I've got the Camaro that's down there. There's a gold-colored Camaro,
Yep.
which is a $100,000 car.
Yeah.
What would a premium on that be? Because you know it's going to be running over the summer.
Yeah, it's all the premiums are based on the same usage. So
Okay.
using it a bit more, it's still limited use. It's still not a daily driver. So it's all proportionate to what you're using it for.
Okay. Question for Jim. One of the things in leasing is called being in the ditch. In other words, I have a car and I'm trading it in, and there's an excess lack of equity in the car, and we now have a balance of say $7,000 to $10,000. We throw it in the next lease, and we're in effect buying 2 cars. Can you sort of walk us through that?
Sure. So before lease busters came along, and perhaps at most dealers, there's always an opportunity to make a car deal today. So every sales rep that's in this building has been taught that you must try to make a new car deal today because it's your best chance. The customer's here in front of you. So you can't blame them for that. That's their business, and that's what they're there to do. So what happens is, once the lease deficiency, so the amount that one is in the ditch, has been established, so let's use a $7,000 number, what'll happen is the dealership will take that $7,000, they will then add that to the final sale price of the new vehicle. Now, as long as that amount, and they can use factory incentives that they find on Ryan's Car Cost Canada dealer invoice price report. So if there's a $2,000 incentive, they can also use that to apply to that negative or lease deficiency. Bottom line is, as long as they're not exceeding 110%, so 10% over the MSRP, the leasing company that belongs to the OEM, they can actually lease that value of the car. So what they're doing is invariably possibly paying $100 to $110 a month more for that new Volkswagen GTI or that new Mazda CX-9.
Now, it can happen once, but it can't happen more than once. Like we're in the third flip, now he's really in trouble.
Exactly. When it happens once, it's okay because some people are prepared.
Yeah.
They need to get out. They need to get out today. And for whatever the reason, they didn't hear a Lease Busters ad, or they didn't Google Lease Busters to find out what other options they had. But if somebody's paying $100 a month too much or over market value for 48 months, so they're paying $4,800 more. Remember, they were upside down in the ditch, $7,000. So
Right.
there is a little bit of a deal there. That part is okay if they go full term. If they need to get out for whatever the reason and they look to retain Lease Busters, they're still going to find out immediately that they've got a $100 a month problem. Now the nice part is if they only have 24 months remaining, they can subsidize that $100, call it premium on their particular lease, by offering what is called a cash incentive of $2,500, and that gets that vehicle down to market value. That's appealing to a lot of people because that's $2,500 in after-tax money on a lease vehicle that might be paid by a business or a corporation. That's before tax money. So there's ways to get out of those particular
Now,
problems.
I should add that if you want to talk more about that, just contact these folks and you can talk to them. There's no obligation. And
There's actually real
yeah.
people at leasebusters.com.
Yeah, right. So let's talk to Ryan. Ryan's got some cards to give out, but we'll give those out later. SO gas cards, is that what they are? All right, we'll tell you more about that near the end of the show. Here's my question for you. I actually used your service.
Okay.
I had to buy a car because I bought a used car. It didn't fit me. It was very uncomfortable, and so I went and bought a new car, leased it. But because of you, I saved $5,500.
That's fantastic.
So I bought a Cadillac XT5, and he told me about a $3,000 Cadillac incentive, and I got another $2,500 off because I told him what an ugly car it was. So explain to me, how do I find out about all these incentives, and why isn't the dealer telling me about it?
Yeah, so I mean, for everybody that's looking to buy a new car soon that's here today, you need to go to carcostcanada.com. You need to first know what is the dealer invoice price of the vehicle you're looking to buy, and then you need to know what incentives, which are really just discounts that you get based on certain qualifications. Like, are you paying cash? Dealers often offer these kinds of rebates.
Ryan, I just want to stop you for
Yeah.
a sec. When you go to the site, you're going to find the manufacturer's listings there, correct?
That's right. So when you go to the site, you're going to see two buttons. One that says choose your make, and then one that says choose your model. You're simply just going to pick the car that you want, and that's going to lead you to generate a report that's going to show you all of the potential savings you can qualify for.
So in essence, you're going to be building the car right on the site.
You're going to be
correct?
building the car right on our site.
With all the options, the color.
All the options, the colors, everything's going to be available on our website, and at the end of the day, the report is going to be all of the knowledge you need to get the best price on
Now,
your next vehicle.
I should ask something. Your report was not available for my car because it just came out. So the answer I got, we'll contact you as soon as we have the information. And it happened 4 days later. Bingo, I got an email, and there it was.
Yeah, so I mean, we're very up to date with our information,
Yeah.
but if there's ever a situation where there's something that's not available, you can contact our team and we'll have it usually within a day, I would say. Normally within a day.
Okay. I've got a question for Scott.
Fantastic.
Now, this is a fact that I've heard before, is that internet advertising for cars, most of them are ghosts. They're curbsiders. The majority of the guys on Kijiji, Craigslist, and wherever you see that are basically car dealers that are unlicensed and selling cars. If you purchase a car from somebody like that, you have to find them basically at the Tim Hortons or at the Shoppers Mart, Drug Mart. But the bottom line is you have no warranty, you have nothing to go back to. Explain that.
So first I want to start off, Dave. Actually, we did some data mining on Kijiji a couple years back, and we found that in Ontario, 1 in 4 ads were placed by a curbsider, these illegal, unlicensed dealers. So OMVIC enforcement, we really cracked down on stopping curbsiders because they harm the industry and both consumers and dealers alike. They take away business and they rip off consumers. But basically, though, like you're saying here, when you buy from one of these curbsiders, you have no protection from consumer laws that OMVIC enforces. So one of those is the Motor Vehicle Dealers Act. There's comes with consumer complaint conciliation. It comes with a compensation fund. If eligible, you could receive up to $45,000 per transaction. When you buy privately or from a curbsider, you have no access to this, and OMVIC cannot help you in that transaction. It has to go through a costly civil suit if you can find the curbsider.
If you can find them,
If you can find them. They disappear right after the sale typically.
And there's things out there like if you're buying a used car, there's safety checks involved. There's the continuity of the car. You know, we call them, you know, they're cut in half and they're welded together to make a third car. All these sort of things do happen, and then you end up phoning these guys over at OMVIC, and you get no help. The bottom line is you have to do a civil suit and go after them, which already is costing you a ton of money. I think small claims coach $25,000.
Yeah, small claims course $25,000.
So
Anything above that, you've got to go into expensive litigation.
So Scott, let me ask you then, if you're going over to Buddy's house,
Yeah.
and he's selling his car, it belonged to his grandmother, how do you protect yourself?
So there's a couple things. The first and most important thing when buying privately is have a trusted mechanic inspect the vehicle. Take it for the afternoon, have them take a look at it, and let them know that, you know what, you're buying it privately and you want to make sure it's okay. The second thing you have to do is get a vehicle history report. Something like CarProof, Carfax. These are fantastic resources. They're online, carproof.ca, just Google it. Pay, I think, $20, give or take. This will tell you stuff about the vehicle's odometer, so how far it's traveled. It'll tell you things about accidents, if it's been in a $1,000 accident or $20,000 accident, even to the point of writing it off. I will always recommend that, even when you're buying from a dealer too, to get a copy of it.
Now, we just hit on something which I want to talk about is there's branding on the ownership. You want to see that the ownership is the same name as the guy that's talking to you, one. And two, let's talk about branding.
So yeah, well, let's go to the name thing first. So when you're buying from a private seller, of course, always check the name on their driver's license in comparison with the ownership. That's one of the first indicators you might be dealing with a curbsider. If those names don't match, if they don't have license plates on the vehicles, if the deal is too good to be true, because unfortunately that's likely the case. Those are things to watch out for, red flags, meeting at the Tim Hortons parking lot, things like that. But to go on to the branding program, basically every car has a VIN on it, a vehicle identification number. It's a unique code that belongs to that car. And with that, there comes a branding program. So say a vehicle has been written off. It may be declared as a salvage brand. Now what that means is the car has been so destroyed in an accident that it can't be on the road, it can't be insured, things like that. But it can be repaired if it meets certain standards. Another brand is irreparable. These vehicles have no hope. These ones have been so ruined you can't repair them, they'll never be safe again. These are the vehicles curbsiders are going to be trying to sell you. They can get these cars for nothing at wreck auctions, and then they disguise them, hide all the blemishes, and sell them to unsuspecting consumers.
Now we're talking about dishonesty, so let's talk about revinning cars. Body shops will go to a wreck auction and buy an ownership. They basically buy a burned out car or whatever, and they revin a decent car, and all of a sudden you've got a brand new car that you can sell. So that's another thing that if you're buying through a dealer, you're not going to see.
Well, and that's just it. Like when you're buying through a dealer, always call Ombic if you run into that circumstance. But that goes back to a trusted mechanic as well. If it's been revinned, have a mechanic take a look at that car. You don't know all of its history at that point. It could be a risky business.
When you actually walk into a dealership, and there's been lots of places that have a sign and says used cars and everything, but what do you have to look out for? Like, do they have licenses that they're supposed to have on the wall?
Yes, they do. So every single car salesman and dealer, if you ask them to see their Ombic license, they're required by law to produce that on the spot. So we just recommend to carry it in their wallets, yeah.
So the salesman in the store has to have his license on him.
He does have to have his license on him. And of course, in the event they don't have it, everyone makes mistakes sometimes. You can always go to omvic.ca and you can search someone's name, you can search a dealership's name to see if they're registered. And you can even see enforcement history, so you can see if Ombic has ever attempted to remove their license, give them discipline proceedings, things like that for non-compliance.
Love it. Okay, we're going to talk to Trevor from Crown. One of the things Crown does is they actually drill holes in the vehicle. They'll drill holes in the rockers, they'll drill holes in the chassis. Reason for the holes?
It's so that we can properly access all the vehicle areas that need to be protected. You can access many vehicles with few holes, but you can't access the whole vehicle. And so we put a lifetime warranty on vehicles. We need to make sure that we can get into the areas that we need to.
Yeah, I've actually seen them do trucks where they remove the lights so they can get inside the box of the truck to spray it and make sure that it's protected.
Yeah, that's right. So like, you'll look in your vehicle, if you open your door, you'll actually see factory plugs there. But the reason the factory plugs are there is part of the manufacturing process. Many vehicle manufacturers, once the metal is formed, they get dipped in acid baths or an etching solution, and the holes are there to actually let the fluid drain out before it moves on to the next stage.
Now, are you able to access those holes and introduce the spray there?
We can in some cases. It just, there's certain boxed in sections. Like it used to be, Jaguar had a huge issue with a rotting out of a floorboard underneath their driver's seat because they had a boxed in section there.
That was the Fred Flintstone model.
It was a real challenge, right? Because they were losing these and nobody knew that they were really there.
You guys actually disassemble cars to learn how to spray them?
We don't disassemble cars, but you get vehicle schematics that tell you about it. Very honestly, most of this is really common sense. We stand behind what we do. That's why we put a lifetime vehicle on the warranty, because we believe that much in our product and our process.
I was going to ask, your product is oil-based, but no solvent-based.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when you hear of something being oil-based, really what it is it serves as a carrier for it. You may take a look at, compare it to the food group of oil and vinegar dressing, right? Really what the oil does is serves as a carrier to get the vinegar to the salad. It really, in any type of product, the chemistry of it is that's what you're using it for. What does the rust inhibiting is not the oil. Oil is not a rust inhibitor.
I understood that it's to keep the oxygen away from the metal.
Yeah, basically it's a thin seal, if you like. Imagine something that's transparent on the surface. Think about when you wax your vehicle. How do you know you've waxed the vehicle? Because you don't see it once you've rubbed it in. What you see is you'll see water beading up on the vehicle. It's very similar. If you saw the underside, how would I know it's there? Water will bead up on it, so it's repelling moisture.
I didn't know that.
Well, the same way, so because wax doesn't last forever, neither does the crown. you ask that people come back for reapplications to maintain their warranty, right?
That's exactly it. So we offer a lifetime warranty that requires an annual reapplication, but it's a full reapplication. It's not just an inspection of a couple of areas.
Oh, so it's not just, for example, in the fenders or the bottom of the car. You actually go back inside those cavities all over again.
That's right.
Oh, great.
If there are any questions from the audience, please just put your hand up. We're glad to answer them. So if you get involved in the programming.
Actually, Dave, I've got a question.
Oh, there we go.
If I bought a brand
You
new
have to
car
stand
today,
out here then.
I know, but it's too far of a walk.
Okay, fine.
If I bought a brand new car today and I crowned it every year, statistically, based on your findings, would that car ever rust?
Through the body panels, no. But will you have rust on, for instance, like right now we're seeing rust on braking components, areas we don't spray. We had an interesting call into the radio station about a sunroof, so we don't spray up there. But from the inside out of the vehicle, if it's done properly, no, you won't see the corrosion. Where the challenge is today is in the last 10 years, we've started putting down different types of de-icing agents on the road, and these are very corrosive to electrical components, to braking components, and that's why we're not called crown rust proofing. There is nothing that is rust proof. This is rust protection.
These new chemicals that they're using, they're worse on cars than they used to be?
Oh, significantly worse. Yeah. So what they're putting on the roads, it used to be that we put rock salt on the roads, right? And some of it would stay on the road, some of it would go into the ditch. The problem is that for water table and that, it's very hazardous to the environment. The de-icing agents that are on the road now are a mixture of calcium and magnesium chloride, and then they'll add additives like beet juice or things like that, so it stays tacky.
It sounds like a smoothie.
Well, it's a smoothie that you may not want to drink, right?
Al could drink it, probably make him feel better. We have a question for you about an interesting venue that's coming up more and more about electronic cars. Jason's got a question for you.
Yeah, have you ever sprayed an electric car, and is there a need to actually rust proof it?
Sure, that's a really good question. So if you take Tesla, Priuses, ones like that, they absolutely do, because they're still made with metal, right? And so what Crown's protecting first and foremost is metal from the inside out. The second part of it, though, is protecting the electrical components, because why corrosion occurs is because of moisture. It's not because of salt. The salt accelerates the rate at which it corrodes, but it's not the cause of it. And if you take your own battery in your vehicle, and as soon as you see the green powdering on it, that's corrosion. And it's being caused because of the moisture. Crown will protect that. Crown, outside of the automotive industry, manufactures products for the trucking industry, for the busing industry, specifically to address electrical issues. Right now, transit buses, heavy-duty trucks like Mack and Volvo, ones like that, their biggest issue, and they're also looking at electric vehicles, is electrical corrosion.
And at the same time, it's still a vehicle. It's on a road. It's going to have brakes. It's going to have a chassis. Those are things that have to be addressed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk to Jeff Coy from Lamp Insurance. Again, these folks do the, full coverage for classic cars.
Yes.
Jeff, what kind of cars are we covering? Give us some case histories.
Oh, we're looking at everything from a 1912 Stanley steamer to we insure if you go down to the 700 level and the Cabo Beach display, there's a 52 or 53, depending on the way you look at it, Cadillac Eldorado convertible.
The blue one.
The blue one, yeah, and that's a prototype, but that's one of our biggest clients is a car down there. We insure even newer cars. We insure exotics. We're getting into a little more of the 80s and 90s cars as well.
So there's even a relatively new car can be insured as well.
Yeah, it's relatively new as long as it is a collector, classified collector, which means it's a special edition or was a special model offering.
So a Lamborghini or a Ferrari?
But even some regular North American built.
Right, because it comes down to the amount of use that it gets.
Right, amount of use, and that it's a special edition, a limited production car, and it's limited use again. It's used just like the 53 Eldorado down there.
You have no Chevettes, no Falcons, no Pintos?
Yeah.
Those are regular cars.
I got to tell you about that Cadillac. It's the 54 or 5?
It's listed as a 53, but it's because
got
a prototype.
54.
It's 50.
So my father had a car like that because my dad was a Cadillac man, and it had air ride. So in other words, you could push a button on the dash, and the car would go up and down. You see that's very common now, but at that time it was brand new technology. So we go to the cottage, it has a muddy road, and this car weighs what, 5,000-6,000 pounds.
yeah.
It goes down the road and sinks. And my father goes, relax, we got air ride. Push the button and it's just going to come up. So he pushes the button and the wheels went straight down. He had to end up getting a tractor to pull us out. So yeah, that's amazing. All the technology we see today, they've already done. Everything's out there.
Back in the late 40s and early 50s, Cadillac in particular, in the late 40s, the same client has a 49 Cadillac which has a phone in the glove compartment. Like a makeup kit in the back, and just all kinds of things. He said
I always got a kick when they had liquor bottles and glasses in the glove box.
Convenience.
I love it, yeah. And I love antique cars. And if you go down that level, that's all from the Concours event up in Cabo Beach.
Cabo Beach, great event.
And when is that on?
That's in September. I think it's mid-September.
Mid-September.
Yeah.
They have a golf course up there. It's its own sound.
And for any events, just go to our website. So we've got a great event page, and
Yes.
so all the events going on. It's landinsurance.ca.
And when you go there, even if you click on our website here, and you click on Lant, it'll take you to that page. All right? And actually, if you click at our website, you'll see enter the contest. We're giving away ESSO cards. So now you don't have to wait in line, but you can get it up there. Anyways, we're going to talk to Jim next. Jim, what's the most popular vehicles? We see a lot of change in the public. I know in the States they're mostly car-oriented, but we've always been SUV and hatchback-oriented here. Is SUV still strong?
It's actually not the SUV, it's the CUV, which is the crossover.
Oh.
So most of these vehicles, so if you look at some of this Mazda product over here, and some of the Volkswagen product over here, there's not one SUV there. They're all crossovers. All crossovers are is basically a car with an SUV body, so they're front-wheel drive based, and they are the most popular vehicles on leasebusters.com right now. And again, it's not because people want to get out of them that they're so popular. It's just they basically have taken over for the four-door sedan, Honda Accord and Mazda 6 and so on and so forth. They used to be big selling vehicles. Now it's all their crossovers that are captivating people. Vans aren't popular anymore. Nobody wants to drive. Not as many people want to drive a minivan.
Don't come and knock it.
Exactly. It's funny because
Like
now
your
most
Cadillac. Your Cadillac was rocking.
So bottom line is,
Maybe that's where you came from.
I don't know about that.
is you'll see a lot of Nissan Rogues, you'll see a lot of Honda CR-V, some Ford Escape product, and all these vehicles lease out really, really well. So if they're leasing for anywhere between $295 and $395 a month, it's a very, very popular monthly payment. Good terms, so less than 2 years or less. So it allows you to try different cars far more often. Which brings me to the point, like a lot of people say, well, geez, should I buy my next new car out here? Should I lease my next new car? And really, all it boils down to is, how long do you want to keep your new car for? Do you want to keep your car for 8+ years, or do you want to change your car every 3 to 4 years? So if you want to change your car, especially with the technology today, every 3 to 4 years, then you best be leasing your vehicle because it's far more affordable and it allows you to stay up on technology. If you're not into technology, if you really don't care, you just want transportation, cars will last north of 10 years quite easily.
Yeah. Nope. Go ahead.
Sometimes people do make the mistake, though, where they get a vehicle that they're not totally happy with, and this is obviously a way to get rid of it. But at the same time, if you're not sure if you're going to like something, this is a way that you can try something out.
Well, this is it. A lot of people will take over the last 12 to 14 months of a lease and as a 14-month test drive, and then simply buy the used vehicle at the end because you're buying it at the wholesale value.
So you could actually be buying in or releasing it at any period of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So somebody may have only had the car 6 months. Someone else, like you say, there may be only 6 months left of the lease.
Exactly. Like the way I look at a new vehicle, with all due respect to the new cars out here, is 3 months into a 48-month lease, what do you have? You have a used vehicle with 45 months remaining. So it's incumbent upon people to see if there's somebody who needs to get out of their lease for whatever that reason, because people who have, who just leased the vehicle a couple, 3, 4 months ago, they're prepared to pay a very sizable cash incentive to get out of that lease.
Now,
so that incentive could range from $3,000 to $4,000.
Jim, one more question. How important is it that you buy the right car? I mean, there's cars out there that really don't keep their value. They basically lose their value very quickly. Other cars retain their value forever.
Yeah, and when you're leasing a vehicle, that part doesn't matter.
Okay.
So in other words, you can lease a, not the most popular vehicle or vehicle that's in its last year of its current body style design, and you may find yourself 2 years down the road, geez, I got to get out of it. It's really not a big play with a lease takeover because people are looking for monthly payments, they're looking for a shorter term, they're looking for perhaps a cash incentive, available kilometers. So the actual market value of the vehicle is not a big concern.
Not as far as leasing is concerned, but as far as residual value is concerned, it is a value.
But that's up to the leasing company that's established that. And in many cases, it will affect that. Like if a car doesn't have great resale value, the residual percentage or the market value at the end of the projected market value won't be as high as a car that's more popular.
Okay, so let's go on to Ryan from Car Cost Canada. So Ryan, you were saying the first time we used the website, it's free.
That's correct.
Now, the second time we use the website, we're paying. And how much are we paying? And we're getting...
So the second time, your second report, really what you're going to get is an additional 5 reports after your first report, right? And that's going to be our Pro membership. And with our Pro membership, it's going to allow you to get 5 additional quotes on different vehicles to see what the dealer invoice price is on those and what factory incentives are available on those other vehicles. In addition to that, you're going to also get a $50 SO price privileges card, which is going to be 2.5 cents per liter savings. And, really the ability...
So, wait a second. Yeah. Say that slower.
A 2.5 cents per liter SO card.
Right. So you're going to get all that money back in gas.
That's correct, yeah, and more. So it's really better than free if you think about it.
Right. So in other words, what he's saying is you buy the Pro membership, but they give you a gas card to pay off the Pro membership.
That is completely accurate, yeah.
A question, Ryan, too, for people, once they've printed out the recommended, the quote, what do they do with that quote?
So the best thing they're going to do with that quote is really first understand it, right? Really the way you understand that is to get your best price, you take the dealer invoice price, subtract the incentives you qualify for, and then add roughly a 3% markup. So once they know their best price or the price they should pay, they're going to take that into their recommended dealer.
The recommended dealer being one that you guys recommend?
Yes, one that we've kind of put on their report. So we have sort of pre-screened dealers who have been shown to provide a high level of service. So really, they're going to take that report into the recommended dealer and facilitate the deal at that price. It's a very, very simple process.
So you've taken. I was going to say you've taken the haggling.
We've taken the negotiating out of it. Yeah. The haggling, the negotiating. The biggest complaint that I think we see more than anything is the hassle that it takes to buy a new car.
Because how many cars are you going to buy in your lifetime? Maybe 4 or 5? And these guys sell 4 or 5 a day, so you're really at a disadvantage.
And when you go into a dealership with no information, you have no idea what a good price is, what a bad price is. So really, there's no other way to buy a car than with a dealer. You need a dealer invoice.
So do you actually supply like what the average selling price is, or what they can actually buy for?
We have some statistics on our website that show what the average selling price is.
Yeah.
I mean, we have all that information, but at the end of the day, it's individual. So what matters is that you know what your best price is.
Okay.
And our reports are going to tell you.
Let's move on to Scott Long. Scott actually goes to dealership and teaches them the rules and wherewithal of OMVIC. OMVIC is, if you haven't been here before, is the regulator of the car industry. So everybody here who's selling cars is regulated by these folks here. So the question I have is, I bought a car, I liked it, now I go down the street and my wife tells me, oh, you could have got it here for so much less. What happens when I want to go and buy another car from this other guy? Am I buying 2 cars?
Well, that's the problem there, Dave. If you have 2 contracts, so the first year, if you sign that contract that we mentioned earlier, there's no cooling off period. The sale is final at that point. And then if you go over to the dealer down the street and you sign that second contract, you have just bought 2 vehicles.
No way to get out?
There is ways to get out. You can ask the dealer to let you out of the contract. But again, it's the dealer's discretion when it comes to liquidated damages. They may claim a portion of your deposit as damages, for installing additional features you may have asked for, things like that. There are some items in a contract, this doesn't really apply here, but when certain disclosures aren't made, more often in used vehicles, that can allow a contract to be canceled. There's 6 of them. It's the previous history and use of a vehicle. So things like they didn't tell you the car was a previous daily rental, if it was an ambulance or an emergency services vehicle rather, if the odometer has a discrepancy, and the discrepancy is 1,000 kilometers or 5%, whichever is lesser. So we have actually seen this in some circumstances where it was a mistake on the bill of sale that a dealer may have done, and the consumer finds out that that vehicle maybe had 5,000 less kilometers or more on it, and they were able to get all their money back, provided it was within 90 days.
So if I accidentally buy a car, so I bought a brand new car, I get home, and it's like I just found out that I had some other financial crisis. If I went back to the dealer and I said, look, I know I made a mistake, I'm willing to pay you the profit that you earned on this car. Just reverse the deal, because dealers can reverse sales. Is that okay by OMVIC? Is that compliant? So the dealers actually say, I made $1,200 on this car. If you pay me $1,200, I'll take the vehicle back and I'll reverse the sale. Is that compliant?
That's a great question. And Jim, in any circumstances between the customer and the dealer in that aspect there, if that's the agreement you two to come to get yourself out of that contract, that's totally acceptable. What we most often see is the dealer, let's say you put $1,000 down, they would just claim your deposit as their damages. Should you want to, though, they would have to be able to substantiate those damages with receipts and invoices if OMVIC asks. But the best advice I can give you, is if you go home and you say to your wife, I bought this brand new car, it's fantastic, and she says, nope, absolutely not. Like, you should have consulted me first. When you're at a dealership, you can put your own clauses in the contract. You could simply say, I'll buy this car, but it's subject to my partner or my wife's approval.
No guy's ever going to say that.
Hey, well, we could encourage it, right? Another good one, when I buy my vehicles, I always have it subject to my insurance premium. So I don't want to have to sit in the dealership, call up my insurance company to see what my premium is, and I say, as long as it doesn't exceed my current premium of XYZ, then we're in the clear.
That's a great point, because you may end up with an insurance policy 3 or 4 times what you're paying now.
Precisely, and it all depends on the vehicle and how much you drive, as we were hearing earlier, right? So.
Question, what would be the recourse? For example, you get the car home and your mechanic happens to point out to you that this car was a taxi cab at one point. What does somebody do in that case?
Call OMVIC right away. Give us a call, explain to us what's happened, and we would have to take a look at the paperwork. So if, let's say it is a taxi, or not a common one I shouldn't say, but maybe something more applicable to the GTA is rentals and airport limousines, which are also taxis.
What about Uber? Uber's a private car?
Uber's a great question. Unfortunately, the legislation that we have was drafted and Uber did not even exist. But with raise of hand here, who would buy an Uber?
Well, you don't know it's an Uber. So he has a Toyota, he drives it as Uber all day, and then he decides to trade it and buy another car. The dealer didn't know, and obviously the driver didn't tell him.
No, for sure. And it all depends if it's classified as a taxi or not right now, and that's something we're working hard on at OMVIC because...
Are they going to change the dealer Motor Vehicle Dealer Act to amend that to Uber cars?
That does require regulation change, which is a very lengthy process as well. We'd have to consult with our stakeholders to figure that one out right now. But in Toronto, they are taxis. They do have to follow taxi rules. So we consider Uber a material fact, more or less. So,
but I think at the same time, it may be pretty obvious. The car's only 2 years old and it's got 100,000 kilometers.
And that's just it. Yeah.
I wonder if they could ever put that on an Uber car. Could ever the stats could ever be picked up by CarProof? So in other words, if I've used the vehicle as an Uber vehicle, somehow CarProof gets that information, and that could be on that report.
That's a great question. If they buy up the data from Uber and they could use that to go from there, that would assist dealers definitely as well to make clear disclosure to consumers to make sure you're not buying an Uber
there's Lyft, there's Maven coming out there downstairs, and there's Uber. So you've got a lot of vehicles that could be taxis, but you never knew about it.
Precisely, and that's the difficulty. So when you do trade in a vehicle, though, there is a required trade-in disclosure form that consumers are supposed to fill out. They are required to be honest and truthful with it, and certainly hope so people would do that. And one of the questions there is, it's been a taxi or limo, and of course that would come in with the Uber category as well. And going forward, the dealer would disclose that to the next buyer.
Like my wife would say, yeah, right.
I tell you, I've seen some moms' limos, moms' Ubers, and they were pretty disgusting.
Well, and there goes to your point there. Just take a look at the car as well. If it doesn't have 300,000 kilometers on it, it's only a couple years old, might be an indicator. Is the back seat in really rough shape, things like that.
I mean,
too.
the right rear seat is worn out. That could be. Okay, we're going to have to start closing off. Let me say goodbye to our friends here. Trevor Hutchison. And how do we reach your company?
You can get the full Crown information on our website at crown.com.
How many dealers are around? This always gets me.
276.
276, and they're all co-op.
They're all co-op. They're all owners of the company.
So if you want to yell at the boss, just yell at the guy spraying at your car.
And don't forget, it's Crown with a K.
Yeah, Crown with a K. Jeff, your company is Lant Insurance.
Lant Insurance, lantinsurance.ca. All the information on there, how to insure your classic car.
Right.
And look for our 40th anniversary contest coming up this year.
Yeah, we forgot to talk about that.
We're giving away 40 for 40, so 40 prizes. Celebrate our 4th year, 2 trips to Barrett-Jackson, an early bird trip to Las Vegas, and Scottsdale in 2019.
And if you want to know anything that's going on in the city as far as car shows or concours events, click on our site, davescornergarage.com, click on Lant, and it'll take you right to their site with all the information. Right? Lease Busters, Jim.
So it's Jim Matthews. It's leasebusters.com. As mentioned, we've been around for 28 years. We pioneered the service of lease transfers. And bottom line is, if you ever need to get out of your car lease, or as importantly, want to take over a lease, go to our online marketplace and go shopping, have fun.
We can save you money.
Yeah, we will.
He gets a lot of hits. It's really a great site. And it also gives you an idea what cars are worth because you see what they're going for in your site. Car Cost Canada, Ryan, go ahead.
So it's carcostcanada.com, and you're going to go right on our site, build your vehicle, find out what the best price is on your next new vehicle purchase.
Right. And Omvic is the people you don't want to talk to because you know you're in trouble.
No. Feel free to come to us anytime. So OMVIC is Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. We are a law enforcement organization that enforces laws made by the government to protect consumers when buying a car. We have education programs that I actually deliver. We have many other protection plans and enforcement as well. So visit us on the level 800 in the South Building. We have a booth set up there, and I'm around for any questions as well. As usual, omvic.ca. You can get tons of information there when buying a vehicle.
One final question for you is, does it cost the consumer anything to contact you and to open a file?
Fantastic question. Now, OMVIC is completely free. We're a not-for-profit organization, and our mandate is to protect consumers. And if you call us, any resources we have are completely free to everybody, not just in Ontario, anyone who has a question.
Okay, if you want more information on any of these companies, first off, I've worked with these folks. These are the best in the industry. They know their stuff. You don't last 20 and 30 years as a company if you're not doing something right. Just go to our website, davescornergarage.com. You'll see a bunch of clicks down at the bottom there, buttons. Just click on any one of them. It'll take you to their site, or you can call them. All the information's there. You can listen to us on AM 740 Saturday morning and Sirius XM Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock. Sunday at 10 o'clock, and Sunday again at 10 in the evening.
Wow. No. Way to go, Dave.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, we have stuff to give out. We're going to give a bunch of swag out now, too. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen.